Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome to my cozy corner of the internet. My name is Hannah and today I'm going to be showing you guys my TBR. I've mentioned before on this channel that I really want this channel to be cozy, comfy for everyone, and I want to be a place that you guys can come to decompress and just be zen, I guess. So I wanted to share with you guys my TBR list. I currently have 12 books in my TBR list and I have decided I'm gonna go on a book buying ban and just read all of these before I start buying more books. I don't have an issue with buying books, but it's more of like I want to read them before I start buying more. And I've never made book content on this channel, but I am an avid book reader. If you guys have seen any of my school vlogs, you would probably see during my downtime I'm always reading a new book. Since I haven't been in school recently, I've been very lazy and just kind of laying around with blackjack and stuff, so I haven't been reading as I should be. But I do want to share with you guys my TBR if anyone's looking for some interesting new books to read, and I also would love if you guys would leave some comments down below letting me know what your guys' favorite books are and if you have any recommendations for me to read. I don't mind the genre. You guys can honestly give me any recommendations, it's fine. I used to be heavily into YA romance and fiction romance when I was younger, and I do still love reading them, but recently they've gotten a little spicy and I don't have an issue with that, but like it becomes repetitive over a certain amount of time when you constantly are reading the same style of book. So give me some like interesting, unique recommendations. But without further ado, I'm gonna be reading off each title and the synopsis for each book in case anyone's interested. So let's get started. Starting off strong, I have The Great Gatsby. If you're in high school right now, more than likely your junior year of high school, you would have read this book or you are going to read this book. They have a whole section on it in your English. I was supposed to read this my junior year, but I was in like the hybrid learning because of COVID, so I wasn't able to read it because they cut like this whole section out of our criteria for my semester that I was supposed to be reading it. But this is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and The Great Gatsby is F. Scott Fitzgerald's third book. And basically, yeah, it's about the 1925 quintessential jazz age has been acclaimed by generations of readers. Hold on, does it have a synopsis? I don't know if it has a synopsis. You guys all probably know what The Great Gatsby is. I'm really horrible at explaining things, but it's basically about like a really rich guy and like his life before he died. This book I'm actually really excited to read. This is We'll Prescribe You a Cat by Shio Ishida. This is a Japanese author, and I've read another book by a different author. It's called What You're Looking For Is in the Library, I believe. And I love Japanese authors. I feel like they bring a new like look on different genres of writing, and they're just like so refreshing to read amongst like everything that's so similar with US authors. Not that there's an issue with that, but I do love reading Japanese author books, and this is just so cute. I love the way that the cover looks. And this book is tucked away on the 5th floor of an old building at the end of a narrow alley in Kyoto. The Nakyo Kuroko, I'm so sorry I'm butchering that, clinic for the soul can be found only by people who are struggling in their lives and who genuinely need help. The mysterious clinic offers a unique treatment to those who find their way there. It prescribes cats as medication. Patients are often puzzled by this unconventional prescription, but when they take their cat for the recommended duration, they witness profound transformations in their lives, guided by the playful, empathetic, and occasionally challenging yet endearing cat. Throughout these pages, the power of the human-animal bond is revealed as a disheartened businessman finds unexpected joy in physical labor, a middle-aged man struggles to stay relevant at work and at home, a young girl navigates the complexities of elementary school clique. A hardened handbag designer seeks emotional balance, and a geisha learns to move on from the memory of her lost cat. As the clinic's patients grapple with their inner turmoil and seek resolution, their feline companions lean toward them, healing, self-discovery, and newfound hope. So it's very similar in terms of like What You're Looking For Is in the Library, but a little bit different, and I think this is going to be such a fun read. I'm so excited. The next two books are Penguin classics. You guys have probably heard of these authors at some point in time. First is Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility. I've read Pride and Prejudice and Emma, and I actually have 2 special collector's editions of those books because I love them so much. I love Jane Austen. I know her writing is a little hard to understand sometimes. To me, it reminds me of Shakespearean, but like slightly different, but I do love her romances and I think they're beautiful. So I got Sense and Sensibility because this is the only book that I haven't read from her, and I'm super excited. So the synopsis is: two very different sisters find themselves thrown into an unkind world where their father dies. Mary Ann, wild and impulsive, falls dangerously in love with Eleanor, while Eleanor suffers her own private heartbreak but conceals her true feelings, even from those closest. Jane Austen's subtle and witty novel of secrets and suppression, lies and seduction brilliantly portrays a world where rigid social convention clashes with impulses of the heart. This is the only version of Sense and Sensibility to be based on the first edition text of 1811. I'm so excited. I love Jane Austen so much. And then obviously I got Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. I first actually learned about her through another book that I read called the Magic Library or the Magic something. I'll put it on the screen of what I'm referencing. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was very heavily based around Emily Bronte or talking about her specifically, and Wuthering Heights was the one that they mentioned. And I know this is another book that a lot of people will read if they read Jane Austen, so I decided to pick this up. I think I got this while I was in San Francisco, which makes it a little bit more special. This book, Emily Bronte's novel of impossible desires, violence, and transgression, is a masterpiece of intense, unsettling power. Begins in a snowstorm when Lockwood, the new tenant of Cross Grange on the bleak Yorkshire moors, is forced to seek shelter at Wuthering Heights. There he discovers the history of the tempestuous events that took place years before, the intense passion between the fawning Heathcliff and Catherine Earnshaw, her betrayal of him, and the bitter vengeance how he now wreaks on the innocent heirs of the past. Just so excited. This is another book that I got, I want to say also while I was in San Francisco. I think I bought those two books at the same time. This is Lucy Foley's The Paris Apartment. I've actually been meaning to read this book for a very, very long time. It's actually been on my to be bought list, but I never got around to purchasing it. This is a suspenseful mystery book, and I'm so super excited. So it's basically about different tenants that live in the apartments, and I think there was a murder that, I know it's a mystery, I know it's about a murder that took place in the apartments, and they're trying to figure out who done it basically. So we have the residents of number 12, Rue des Amants, a beautiful old apartment building in the City of Light. The socialite, the nice guy, the alcoholic, the girl on the verge, the concierge, everyone's a neighbor, everyone's a suspect, and everyone knows something they're not telling. So this just seems so up my alley. One of my favorite books that I've ever read in my entire life, probably, well, book series, is The Thursday Murder Club. I love mysteries and murders that are so just like quirky but not like overly, I guess, intense. The Thursday Murder Club and Killers of a Certain Age are some of my favorite mysteries I've read. They're both surrounding old people, but The Thursday Murder Club by, I'm blanking on his name, I'll put the images on the screen of what I'm referencing, are one of my favorite book series because it's just so lovely, has humor, it has like suspense, it has like good storyline, and I love the characters. So if you guys are looking for a good book series that's like super easy to read and really fun to follow along with, The Thursday Murder Club is definitely one to go with. Next, I have The Tearsmith by Aaron Doom. This is based off of there's a Netflix movie, like YA movie, based off of this book called The Tearsmith. It's an Italian movie. And I bought the book because I watched the movie, and I've been hearing and I noticed that the movie is very rushed and it's very like glossed over a lot of things that happened and kind of like fast forwarded a lot of stuff. So I bought this because I just want to read the original story. So this is translated from the Italian writing basically. So it's growing up in a ghastly orphanage run by an abusive matron. Nika coped in the only way she could by retreating to her imagination, where she lived out fantastical stories, especially about the Tearsmith, the man who makes tears, a terrifying figure who forages all the fears that dwell in people's hearts. When she's finally taken in by an adoptive family at 17, Nika then thinks she's leaving the group home, its torments, its prison of otherworldly tales behind her. That is, until Regal, a young man raised from birth in the same dreadful orphanage, joins her new family. Regal is as mesmerizingly handsome as he is troubled, and he and Nika have a long history of distrust and hostility. But as they come to live together again under one roof, the deep shared trauma of their surviving such vicious circumstances sparks something magical, and Nika begins to fall for Regal's forbidden love. Before any relationship can become reality, though, they have to face the darkness of their past and that dangerous stakes of pursuing a future together. So it's like enemies to lovers in like a really suspenseful, interesting way. And I won't spoil it because again, I've watched the movie, but it's definitely a really, really good romance, and I feel like the book will do a lot better than the movie did. Next, classics. If anyone has read YA, or if any of you are on Book Talk, you know about this series. This is the Shatter Me series. This book is Ignite Me by Tira Maffey. I'm so sorry, girl. But I read the first book and I read the second book, but I need to like keep series. So I have Shatter Me and Unravel Me, and then I have Erin's POV, which is like the tiny skinny books that go in between each book. I just got Ignite Me because I've been wanting to finish reading this series, and when I was very heavily involved in TikTok a really long time ago, everyone was talking very heavily about like how good this series is. So finally picked up this book. If you're unfamiliar, Shatter Me is basically about like a dystopian world. Kind of reminds me similarly to Divergent, where there's people that have powers or special, and they go like live in this like special underground like city basically. And we follow Juliet, who basically like has like killer touch, if she touches you, you die situation. It's basically like following that path, and like love triangle between Erin and I don't remember the other guy's name. Yeah, if you guys are unfamiliar, you could probably find reviews or people talking about it on TikTok, but this is just the third book in the series, so I picked this up because I want to continue reading it. I got To Kill a Mockingbird. This was another book that you guys probably would have read in high school. If you've graduated or if you're going into high school, you're more than likely going to be reading this, if I'm not mistaken, unless it's been banned. If it's been banned, I'll put it on the screen. But To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I read this my freshman year of high school. It was mandatory reading for me, so I don't know if it's the same for everyone. And always they don't have a synopsis, but if I remember correctly, it's basically just about like this like really creepy dude and like kids, and it kind of takes place in like that era. I don't actually really know, but yeah. And then the next two books are also part of a series. They're book 2 and 3. This is from the Legend trilogy by Mary Lou. This is Prodigy, and then this one is Champion. I have the first book, which is Legend, and it's basically, again, kind of like dystopian future, like futuristic life, and it's basically reminds me a lot of COVID times, where there's a virus that's going around that's killing people, and they're locking people in their homes and putting X's, and then you have like the rich and the poor, and they're like separated, and there's this guy who's basically like one of the like #1 criminals in like the city, and they're like looking for him, and it's like a love story, but also like they're on the run. There's just a lot. So if you guys want to read the synopsis for the first book, it's called Legend, and it basically sets you up for the rest of the book. So I have the book 2 and 3. I actually just recently got these from Barnes & Noble the other day, but yeah, that's what we have so far. And then next I have Allie Hazelwood's Not in Love. I've read her other books. She's like a STEM author who writes about like romances for STEM majors, which is usually like chemistry. I've seen bio, and if I'm not mistaken, this one is also chemistry. Oh my gosh. There's artwork, but yeah, if I'm not mistaken. But this is Rue Siebert. Might not have it all, but she has enough. A few friends she can always count on, the financial stability she yearned for as a kid, and a successful career as a biotech engineer at Klein. So it usually revolves around some kind of STEM major. I've noticed it revolves mainly around bio. Her world, one of the most promising startups in the field of food science. Her world is stable, pleasant, and hard-fought until a hostile takeover and its offensively attractive frontman threatened to bring it all crumbling down. Eli Kilgore. These names are very interesting. and his business partners want Klein, period. Eli has his own reasons for pushing this deal through, and he's a man who gets what he wants, with one burning exception, Rue, the woman he can't stop thinking about, the woman who's off limits to him. Torn between loyalty and undeniable attraction, Rue and Eli throw caution out the lab and boardroom windows. Their affair is secret, no strings attached, and has a built-in deadline. The day one of their companies prevails, but heart is risky business that plays for keeps. My only thing about this book specifically, I got this because I've read her other books, but I've also noticed that Ali Hazelwood, I hate to like bash her because she's a really lovely author and I love the amount of research she puts into her books. It's also mainly just that a lot of her books follow the same storyline, and it's a little repetitive in terms of like reading if you've read her other books, whereas like it's usually about like a girl who's like breaking through in her science and she's like a girl in STEM, and then you have like this guy that wants to like take over like the business or is like fighting for her, like they're like getting pinned against each other, so it's enemies to lovers, but like it follows the same path and storyline. So like I wish it was slightly more different, or like she would change it up a little bit, but like I'm still very excited to read this book for sure, and I can't wait to see what this one's about. She's also a spicy author, so if you like that, you would like her book. And my last one, this is such a random book to like have, but I'm trying to collect all of the banned books in the United States in case like one day they end up, you know, disappearing. But this is the 60th anniversary edition because I'm super cool. But this is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, and if you've never heard of this book, this was another mandatory read I did, I think my sophomore year of high school before COVID happened. And this book is literally basically about people's free speech being thrown out and books being banned, and it's basically about like a book ban where they're like burning every book, and if you get caught holding a manuscript, a book of any kind, something like that, you will get put in jail. And I just feel like this book is very real world right now, like essentially what we're dealing with in this day and age. And I'm just super excited to finally be able to read this. I didn't read it my sophomore year. I kind of glazed over it and used Spark Notes. But now that I'm older, I'm 21, I'm more mature now than I was my sophomore year of high school. I can't wait to read this book. And this is definitely one of those things where I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be good. So yeah, that's my full TBR. It kind of felt like a book haul, but if you guys enjoyed this type of video where I'm talking about books, I will gladly do another one. I will probably do like a book of the month or like books I've read this month. I usually like to try and finish a book a week back when I was reading heavily, which I'm trying to get back into reading now. So I'll probably be reading like a book every week is the goal. We'll see. And obviously we're gonna wither down in my collection and I'll be buying more books. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this kind of change in content, let me know. And if there's any other content you want to see that's like cozy related, like a morning, like my skincare routine or my hair care routine, or just like a cozy little sit down chit chat video, I would love to film those because they're a lot less repetitive than vlogging every day. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.